All right. Thank you for joining me again so much. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to go ahead and join me on these special tips. I'll make sure that I don't waste your time. I'll jump right into it. Today we're talking about tip number 2. A signed contract doesn't mean it's sold. Now, in the 23 years I've done this game, okay, if there's one thing I've learned, all right, a signed contract means pretty much nothing. Okay, here's what I mean. The reality is a signed contract doesn't really mean much, okay, until you actually get people to perform and close on it. Here's what I mean. I wrote down point number 1. It's not sold until the money's in your account. Right now, I understand everybody gets that it's not a done deal till the money's on the barrelhead, cash is on the barrelhead, money's in my wallet, that sort of thing. I get it, right? But there's so many things that you need to consider as a home seller, right? There's inspection contingencies, there's appraisal contingencies, many times there's financing contingencies. So on your offer, you definitely want to take a look at it and find out what those contingencies are, because just because somebody comes along in apparent good faith and makes an offer on your property does not necessarily mean that you've got a deal. I wrote down point number 2, it's not sold if you have title issues. How many times, now in my business it comes up quite a bit, but how many times in your professional life has it come up where something's just out of the blue happens and you're like, holy cow, where'd that come from? Well, in real estate it happens a lot. One of those things, we call them IRS liens. People tend to forget to pay their taxes. Let's just be honest, okay? The whole world, well, maybe not the whole world, but the United States, certainly, a lot of people in the United States have trouble paying their taxes and certainly paying their taxes on time. And because of this, they can get IRS liens that are on their home or on their persons. And if they're trying to sell a property or buy a property, that can get in the way. The other thing I wrote down, unknown title issues, right? Liens, easements, crazy Aunt Nettie from, back east saying it's her property. Those sorts of things can happen to you. And you might think that you've got a deal, but all of a sudden, guess what? These things pop up and now you got a problem. I wrote down point number 3, it can't sell if they can't or won't sign. Now look, I know I want to probably skirt a few lines here, but let me just be honest with you, okay? If they're not physically capable of signing the contract, at the time of closing, if they're not physically capable of signing the deed and all the other stuff, well, guess what? You don't have a deal. A lot of things can happen. In 23 years, okay, I've seen mental incapacity. I've seen suicides a couple days before the close of escrow. I've seen people die on the way to, well, I've not seen it, but I've obviously experienced people dying on the way to escrow. I mean, a lot of things could certainly happen, and it's never over. I wrote down the buyer dies, the seller dies, a divorce, legal issues, all kinds of things can jump in and screw up your deal right at the last minute. I wrote down a signed contract does not mean it's sold. Trust me, guys, if there's anything I'd tell you in this business, it's one thing I tell you, it's not over until it's over. Tell me what your experiences have been. I hope that you've had good ones. I appreciate the fact that so many of you have been sharing. And as always, I hope you have a powerful sales day. Bye-bye.